Okay, we're back with the second half of Nehemiah chapter 8. Or, excuse me, chapter 9. But when all was going well, your people turned to sin again, and once more you let their enemies conquer them. Yet whenever your people cried to you again for help, you listened once more from heaven. In your wonderful mercy, you rescued them repeatedly. You warned them to return to your law, but they became proud and obstinate and disobeyed your commands. They did not follow your regulations, by which people will find life if only they obey. They stubbornly turned their backs on you and refused to listen. In your love, you were patient with them for many years. You sent your Spirit, who, through the prophets, warned them about their sins, but still they wouldn't listen. So once again, you allowed the pagan inhabitants of the land to conquer them. But in your great mercy, you did not destroy them completely and abandon them forever. What a gracious and merciful God you are. And now, our God, the great and mighty and awesome God, who keeps his covenant of unfailing love, do not let all the hardships we have suffered be as nothing to you. Great trouble has come upon us and upon our kings and princes and priests and prophets and ancestors from the days when the king of Assyria first trumpeted over us until now. Every time you punished us, you were being just. We have sinned greatly, and you gave us only what we deserved. Our kings and princes, priests, and ancestors did not obey your law or listen to your commands and solemn warnings, even when they had their own kingdom. They did not serve even though you showered your goodness on them. You gave them a large fertile land, but they refused to turn from their wickedness. So now today we are slaves here in the land of plenty that you gave to our ancestors. We are slaves among all this abundance. The lush produce of this land piles up in the hands of the kings whom you have set over us because of our sins. They have power over us and our cattle. We serve them at their pleasure, and we are in great misery. Yet in spite of all this, we are making a solemn promise and putting it in writing. On this sealed document are the names of our princes and Levites and priests. Nehemiah chapter 10. The people agree to obey. The document was ratified and sealed with the following names: Nehemiah the governor, son of Achaliah. The priests who signed were Zedekiah, Zeriah, Assyria, Jeremiah, Pashhur, Amiriah, Malchijah, Hattush, Shabana, Milok, Haram, Meremoth, Obadiah, Daniel, Ginnathon, Barak, Meshullam, Abijah, Mibijam, Maziah, Bilgay, and Shemaiah. These were the priests. The Levites who signed were Jeshua, son of Azani, Benua, from the family of Henadad, Kadmiel, and their fellow Levites, Shebaniah, Hodiah, Kilita, Pelaiah, Hanan, Micah, Rehab, Hashabiah, Zachar, Sherebiah, Shabaniah, Hodiah, Bani, and Benanu. The leaders who signed were Parash, Pahath Moab, Elam, Zatu, Bani, Buni, Asgad, Bebai, Adoniah, Bigvay, Adin, Ater, Hezekiah, Ezer, Hodiah, Hashem, Bazay, Harif, Anahoth, Nibai, Meg, Payesh, Meshullam, Hizr, Meshezebel, Zatok, Zadua, Pelaleda, Hanan, Anaiah, Hosea, Hananiah, Hashub, Holehesh, Pilha, Shobek, Ruam, Hashabnah, Maaseiah, Aiah, Hanan, Anan, Maluk, Huram, and Bana. And again, I apologize for all of those mispronunciations. Okay, to the rest of the people, the priests, Levites, gatekeepers, singers, temple servants, and all who had separated themselves from the pagan people of the land in order to serve God, and who were old enough to understand, and now all heartily bound themselves with an oath. They vowed to accept the curse of God if they failed to obey the law of God as issued by his servant Moses. They solemnly promised to carefully follow all the commands, laws, and regulations of the Lord their Lord. The vow of the people. We promise not to let our daughters marry the pagan people of the land, nor to let our sons marry their daughters. We further promise that if the people of the land should bring any merchandise or grain to be sold on the Sabbath or on any other holy day, we will refuse to buy it. We promise not to do any work every 7th year and to cancel the debts owed to us by other Jews. In addition, we promise to obey the command to pay the annual temple tax of an eighth of an ounce of silver, so that there will be enough money to care for the temple of our God. This will provide for the bread of presence, for the regular grain offerings and burnt offerings, for the offerings on the Sabbaths, the new moon celebrations and the annual festivals, for the holy offerings and for the sin offerings, to make atonement for Israel. It will also provide for the other items necessary for the work of the temple of our God. We have cast sacred lots to determine when, at regular times each year, the sacrifice of the priests, Levites, and for each year, the families of the priests, Levites, and the common people should bring wood to God's temple to be burned on an altar of the Lord our God, as required in the law. We promise always to bring the first part of every harvest to the Lord's temple, whether it to be cropped from the soil or from our fruit trees. We agree to give to God our oldest sons and the firstborn of all our herds and flocks, just as the law requires. We will present them to the priests who minister in the temple of our God. We will store the produce in the storerooms of the temple of our God. We will bring the best of our flour and our grain offerings, the best of our fruit and the best of our new wine and olive oil. We promise to bring the Levites a tenth of everything our land produces, for it is the Levites who collect the tithes in all our rural towns. A priest, a descendant of Aaron, will be with the Levites as they receive these tithes. And a tenth of all that is collected as tithes will be delivered by the Levites to the temple of our God and placed in the storerooms. The people and the Levites must bring these offerings of grain, new wine, and olive oil to the temple, and place them in the sacred containers near the ministering priests, the gatekeepers, and the singers. So we promise together not to neglect the temple of our God. Okay, with that, I'll be back tomorrow with chapter 11.